let's talk about the Commanders. The Commanders traded for Carson Wentz.
Congratulations on your quarterback.
Listen,
Corey, what's going on?
Um,
Are y'all taking? Are y'all
No.
taking from Bryce Young?
no. Oh no. So Zach Kiefer of The Athletic put out an article.
Yeah.
Maybe a couple hours after the trade happened, kind of walking through a little bit of what happened in Indianapolis with Wentz, and it's Frank Reich went out on a limb, vouched for Carson Wentz, sold Irsay and Ballard that he could fix them, and convinced them to make the trade. It wasn't just on the field that caused this to happen.
That's the whole
yes,
damn HBO thing, Corey.
Well, I think the Hard Knock stuff was agreed to pretty early in the season, but it's failures, a lack of leadership. The people in the front office didn't have faith that Carson Wentz could lead the team, and it was decided. So right after that Jacksonville game, as soon as they get back to Indianapolis, Irsay pulled Ballard and Reich in for a meeting. I'm pretty sure talked about it after that
was pissed.
Yes. It was in that meeting, it was decided Wentz would not come back. Irsay was furious. He's been furious.
That's crazy.
You hear a lot of the things that were kind of grumbled about Wentz from Philadelphia. It turns out it's the same stuff again. He didn't respond well to tough coaching in Indianapolis from Taylor and Reich. He, wouldn't take his checkdowns, tried to play too much hero ball, tried to do too much more than what he was being asked to do. And it wasn't, the vaccination status, putting the team at risk by not getting vaccinated was a big deal because you're supposed to be a team leader as the starting quarterback. And so it was like this stuff was building well before that last month of the season when his play took a nosedive too.
It did.
And I will say this. So I feel like there had to be some major incident behind the scenes that happened because the Colts don't leak. Chris Ballard does not leak.
No, they're pretty.
A few years ago, the DeForest Buckner trade came out of nowhere. And that was a massive trade. Number 13 pick for an all-pro defensive tackle. Not a word was mentioned until it was announced. The Carson Wentz trade, not a word of it came out until the trade happened. But you listen to basically anybody in NFL at the Combine in Indianapolis last week, everybody knew Carson Wentz was done in Indianapolis. That's how upset and how done Chris Ballard was. So I really want to know what the dirt was that caused Chris Ballard to be that open with basically everyone that Carson Wentz was gone. So and then you look at the trade itself.
Yeah.
I thought the Colts were going to have to eat some of Wentz's salary this year and maybe get like a second or a third round pick. Ballard was able to move up 5 places in the second round this year. Got a third round pick this year and a third round pick next year that can become a 2.
And we got we eating that full 28.
Eating all that.
And the Colts aren't paying a dime and now have $70 million in cap space to mess with in free agency.
Like 20 or 30.
Washington has like $5 million after absorbing Carson Wentz's salary.
Yep.
So moves are going to have to happen for them now too.
Yeah. So my thoughts about it after listening to people and talking. Jim Irsay was pissed. That's what this led to. It led to the not being vaccinated and you losing to Jacksonville. He was pissed. I heard that. And you're right, Corey. Coach stuff doesn't leak. But they said Irsay was furious. Like, no. Right? So I think that it's interesting. It's a quarterback league. We took the hit. I talked to a lot of Washington fans today. They don't like it. Once again, I told you guys I need therapy. Okay, I was not happy at all. I told you what I want to do, but I would be fired as a GM in the NFL because I like to wait. I would draft. I would go. I would really go into Heineke, or I would get maybe Jameis Winston or Trubisky on a 1 year, $10 million deal, and I would load up, just keep building through the draft, and next year quarterback. Like I would know going into next year we're gonna have a top 5 pick, so I might even just start with Heineke, like whatever, right? People are like, oh, that's not winning. It is because I'm building my roster and I want a quarterback, right? This is not a good quarterback class. But patience is a virtue and it's not a virtue in the NFL. It's not. Like they don't like to. I can't do that. I would have been fired. They would have been like, you sound crazy.
Not for long.
Not for long. I would have got fired. So that's what I would like to do. So after calming down, listen, the NFC is a weak conference. It's not that many quarterbacks. We'll probably make the playoffs. I don't know anything after that. I think Carson Wentz is a better quarterback than Heineke. I don't know. You know, we did we get a second in that?
I think we swapped seconds with
Swapped
them.
seconds, which is like we didn't. Besides the hit, we still have most of our draft capital 5 spots, right? So we didn't have to trade a first. We might give up a future second, which we probably are. He's probably going to play 70%. So, in hindsight, he is better than Heineke. And if he misses games, Heineke is a phenomenal backup. So, but we're not going to build the roster like we want to. Now we do have to hit on this first round, though. Or we can trade.
I'll get to that.
I'll get to that. Now
finish, I get that.
Now I can look for either. No, we talked about it. We can get a safety. Yeah. We can get a corner. We can get a linebacker. We can get man.
It was
we get a tackle. Like, we have this is like all we can trade down and still get a good corner. It's a deep draft for corners and linebackers. It's a deep draft for offensive linemen. Not D tackles necessarily, but offensive linemen, linebackers, and corners.
It's top heavy for D tackles, but not like overall heavy.
Not overall heavy.
But one thing I saw, so Tom McShay and them had to change their mock draft after the Wentz trade. One thing I did see was they had us getting Kenny Pickett from Pittsburgh, but after this trade, I think they said who they say would get him. I think they said New Orleans would get him. They said New Orleans would get him in the first round, and they had us getting the linebacker from Utah, a versatile kid. He's kind of like an off the ball type person. Yeah. They said that would be the move we get in that scheme. Yeah, because like you said, with us taking this Wentz hit, we almost would have to pull. Our draft almost had to look similar to what Carolina's draft looked like 2 years ago. All defense. It would almost have to be all linebacker, secondary play. Like, we should not be. Maybe, but shoot, them first 2 to 3 picks need to be linebacker and secondary, because that secondary was hard. That thing was piss poor. Like it was sometimes I'm looking like, oh, y'all NFL veterans, like why are we looking lost like this? People were wide open. I'm like, are you serious right now? Yeah. Like, did you watch film? Did you study? Like, what is going on here? Like people running wide open. I'm like, huh?
And there's no cap hit next year. Wentz is not on the cap. But he's
so Wentz, I will say one.
Doesn't go against the cap, right, Corey? Is that?
No, so he's under contract for 3 more seasons.
Yeah.
This is the last year of guaranteed money. So if you cut him after the next year, you wouldn't have any dead money on your cap.
Yeah. But we got to eat the $28 million for this year. Yeah, we got to eat that. Yeah.
And his salary isn't insanely under. It's like under $30 million for the last 2 years each.
Yeah, that's okay. That's cheap for a quarterback. This is to a playoff
these days. Yeah.
Hey, it's cheap for a quarterback. So
I will say I did see that the trade started as a 4th and a 6th. Yeah. That's what Washington offered, and then we ended up with a pair of 3s.
Because I listen, we knew we weren't going to get Wilson once that went through. right? So two things.
It looks like they immediately pivoted.
It was two things. It was two things. Like so, it was like, do we want to get Wilson? Wilson, two things. Wilson could have won two, but it looks like Seahawks were like no NFC, and then we're not on the West Coast. So it's like, all right, they want to be on the West Coast. Never makes sense. We were rumored to get Deshaun Watson. Something's happening with the court case. Bam, we're out. Let's get Wentz. We'll have cap space for the next 2 years. Cap's probably going to go up again. So, I mean, it was, to me, it was a win for the Commanders. I was about to say Washington football team or Redskins. The Commanders. Great. What do you think?
Oh, man, I don't think it was a win for the Commanders just because I thought they probably could have waited until because there was rumors. I would assume there was rumors that he was going to get cut. So if they cut him, then they don't have to trade anything for him. They could just pick him up. It seems like they just got maybe desperate and they tried to go out since they couldn't get Rodgers, they couldn't get Stafford last year, they couldn't get Wilson. It's like they just, I don't know, they wanted to make a move and they were aggressive.
You don't mind that they got it. It's the timing.
I just thought, I don't mind that they got him. Like I just thought that maybe they probably could have just waited. But I mean, they got to upgrade at quarterback, which is, I mean, because Heineke's just not, he's just a backup at best. Yeah. But you just look at the numbers. The numbers are pretty much similar across the board for the most part. Like all the stats between Heineke and Wentz, except for interceptions. Wentz had 7, Heineke had 15, but everything else it seems like was pretty much close. Like yards per attempt, total yards, and everything. Like all this completion percentage, everything. So looking at it that way, it might not have, But I mean, Wentz was in a more of a heavier run offense. A run first offense versus Washington. So, and he had a better running back as well. You could easily hand the ball off to Taylor multiple times a game or 20 some plus times a game. I just think if they get everybody healthy, on it, especially on the defensive side, the defense wasn't good last year and they played like they did 2 years ago. I think Washington would be fine. It's just I just thought they could have kept their picks and everything like that, and maybe just waited for him to get released if the Colts were going to actually release him. If they weren't, then I mean, maybe it turns out to be a good move, or maybe you could have went and got, I don't know, somebody like Jimmy Garoppolo or Mr. Trubisky or something like that. Maybe save some picks or something like that. But
the thing is though, I listen. I agree with you. I agree, but I don't know. Somebody would have traded for him.
Maybe. I mean, you don't know, but I mean, it's like Carson Wentz goes from one bad division to another bad division. So in that sense, he has a chance to win the division. It's just
has to beat the Giants.
So it happened. Well, I mean, the only good thing the only good thing is that you had 2 playoff teams in the NFC East. That might, other than that, I mean, you're really not. He's probably the second best quarterback in that division now.
Yeah,
basically the second best quarterback.
Man, he definitely is.
He definitely back in the division last year.
Listen, he definitely Carson Wentz definitely second best quarterback in the division. Like hands down, it shouldn't be a discussion argument.
Second best in the division.
I think he was the best. Tannehill was not good.
Yeah,
you had a rookie in Mills, and you had a rookie in whatever his name is in Houston.
Davis Mills.
Yeah.
So I mean, he was the best quarterback in the division last year. Now he comes in, he's the second best. But I mean, it's the situations. I don't think the situation is better.
How about this?
I think the Colts are a better team.
I think the Colts are a better team. Do you think, Corey, was it the lack of offensive weapons? Because besides Taylor and Pittman, do you think that?
No, it's bad reads, bad throws. There was a Colts blogger that had the perfect example of Carson Wentz's time in Indianapolis. It was 2 plays from the Jaguars game, Week 18. The first one was a beautiful throw over the middle to T.Y. Hilton that was like perfectly over a linebacker's shoulder in between 3 defenders for like a 15-yard completion. The next one was he looked down Mo Alley Cox, double pumped, threw it into coverage, picked off.
I knew it was big.
And it's both plays were the same game, and it's just it. I don't know that like he was comfortable in the offense. He was comfortable with the coach. You know, he had a elite level running game to lean back on, and I think the biggest knock on Wentz was his play got worse as the season progressed. And you look at him statistically throughout a game, he is worse as the game goes on. So when you need a quarterback to step in and make a big play, Wentz was not able to do it. The Colts were 2-5 in one-score games last year.
Damn. Okay. So are y'all taking? Are y'all taking?
No, the Colts aren't taking. Jim Irsay wants to go back to the playoffs. The division is winnable. Tennessee's an okay team. They're not unbeatable. Everyone's throwing around Jimmy Garoppolo. That doesn't make a ton of sense to me because he's going to want an extension if you trade for him, and he's not worth $35 million a year
at all.
Yeah, he's going to want an extension. Yeah.
I think Nick Foles could be an interesting stopgap option. You'll probably be able to get him for like a 6th round pick from Chicago. And
Corey,
if not that,
AFC, you're not making the playoffs. You just know that, right?
Well, no, it's you get Nick Foles as a stopgap and potentially go after a quarterback in this draft. There were reports that the Colts do like 2 of these quarterbacks. Which 2? Who knows?
I don't know. Yeah, who knows?
But if
you like, if they drafted a quarterback in this draft, which 2 do you think that you would like? That you'd be like, okay, I like this quarterback. I feel very comfortable.
Sam Howell intrigues me. Okay. His skill set lines up a lot with what Frank Reich likes in a quarterback. He has some mobility to him. He's got a strong arm to push it down the field.
Okay.
So that would be a really interesting option to pair with Frank Reich. I think Desmond Ridder would be an interesting option.
I like
end of 1, top of round 2. Just because he performed pretty well with not the level of talent around him that a lot of the other quarterbacks have.
I like him for some reason, man. I've been doing some research at quarterbacks. I think he's going to be an interesting one if y'all get him in the 2nd round. I like him. Yeah,
I mean, if one of these guys falls to 42,
I could see Howell, and I could see Ridder there. I could. It's a possibility because, I mean, right now I see Willis, who I think is going to get overdrafted.
Yes.
And I see Pickett
and Corral. I think are all 3 definite round 1 guys.
Round 1s. But then after that, I don't think you see a quarterback.
I want no part of Carson Strong.
Nah, I'm good with that, man. I saw him.
Maybe 15 years ago. Today's NFL, no thank you.
Nah. So it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be really.
But I think, like, say the Colts get Sam Howell. I think going into next year with Nick Foles, Sam Howell, Sam Eilinger, a decent quarterback room, and I think they would overall potentially be in better shape than what they were.
Or if you do that, you're drafting a quarterback. Y'all gonna do what y'all did with Luck.
And I mean, you got all pro running back.
You know that, Corey. I just want you to be prepared. If y'all go with Sam, and I think Irsay would do it. I think Irsay will be like, who is it coming out? Bryce Young. I think Bryce Young is so small, though. Isn't he small? It's like
Bryce Young and
that could work.
CJ Stroud are the 2 top.
He's what? Yeah. Say it again, Craig. What happened?
CJ Stroud is the best from Ohio State.
Yeah, Ohio State.
CJ Stroud, Bryce Young, and then there's some other quarterbacks. What's his name?
It's a couple, but it ain't good. It's one more. I'm trying to think of his name. It's a couple.
Guy from USC.
But do you think?
Yeah. Now Williams got 2 more years though. I think the kid that just transferred got 2 more years.
Got 2 years. Yeah. So Corey, do you see that? Not to say there's an Andrew Luck. It could be. You see doing that like
I think they're going
Oregon
maybe. They're going to their plan is to win now. So there's no doing anything to try to lose to get a better draft pick next year. They are all in on winning this season. I think that they've got the defense to win this season. I think you just add they need a left tackle now since Eric Fisher is not coming back.
I got the cap space, man.
Yeah. Add a wide receiver, add a left tackle, add a tight end, and all you're missing is the quarterback at that point. They do need a defensive end too. They need a solid edge rusher. But as we'll get to, I believe today, edge actually has some depth to it in free agency this year.
Yes. It has a lot.